In a green and sunny land filled with tall trees and sparkling rivers, lived all the animals you could ever imagine. There were big elephants with floppy ears and long trunks that could spray water high into the air. There were speedy cheetahs with spots like little ink drops, and monkeys who chattered and swung from branch to branch all day long. The animal kingdom was a busy place, full of sounds and colors, a wonderful home for everyone. But the animals had a problem, a very big problem indeed. They did not have a king to lead them, and without a leader, things were often quite messy and confusing. The animals knew they needed a king. A king would help them make important decisions and keep the peace. A king would make sure everyone was treated fairly, from the smallest mouse to the tallest giraffe. So they gathered one sunny morning in a large open field. The sun shone down brightly on their feathers, fur, and scales. The air buzzed with excitement and a little bit of worry. "We must choose a king," bellowed the bear. "But who will it be?" chirped a tiny bluebird, fluttering nervously on a twig above the crowd. All the animals looked around at each other, wondering who was best for the job. Every animal had an idea about what made a good king. The giraffes thought a king should be very tall, to see far and wide. The hippos thought a king should be very heavy, to be strong and unmovable. The peacocks believed a king should be beautiful, with feathers that shimmered like jewels in the sun. Each group whispered and pointed, sure that their own kind would make the best ruler for the kingdom. This led to much disagreement, as everyone had a different opinion, and no one seemed to agree on what was most important for a leader to have. The search for a king was proving to be much harder than anyone had expected. The clearing, which had started with such hope, was now filled with little arguments and debates. The animals wanted a leader who could guide them, someone who would listen to their troubles and help them live together happily. They needed a king who was not just strong or fast or beautiful, but someone who could bring order and happiness to their wonderful wild home. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the field, and the animals still had no king. They went to their homes feeling a little bit sad and very much confused. The next day, the strongest animals stepped forward, each one certain that they should be the king. First came the lion, with a mane like a golden sunrise. He stood on a high rock and let out a mighty roar that shook the leaves on the trees. "I am the strongest," he declared, his voice booming across the meadow. "My roar makes all others tremble. A king must be powerful, and I am the most powerful of all. I should be your king." Some of the smaller animals shivered and hid behind bushes, a little frightened by his loud voice and sharp teeth. Not to be outdone, the tiger leaped forward, his stripes like dark shadows in the bright sun. "Strength is not just about noise," the tiger growled, showing his long, sharp claws. "A king must be a great hunter, fierce and quick. I can catch any prey and protect our kingdom from any danger. My claws are the sharpest and my eyes miss nothing. It is I who should wear the crown and rule over this land." He paced back and forth, his powerful muscles moving smoothly under his striped coat, and many animals nodded, thinking that being fierce was indeed very important. Then the bear lumbered into the center of the clearing, his fur thick and brown. He stood on his hind legs, towering over everyone. "A king must be mighty and have great force," he grumbled in a deep voice. "I can push over trees with my paws and stand my ground against any foe. When I stand tall, no one dares to challenge me. A king needs to be a solid rock, a true force of nature. Therefore, the choice is simple. You must choose me." He thumped his great chest with his paw, making a hollow thump-thump sound that echoed through the woods. Soon the lion, the tiger, and the bear began to argue. "My roar is the most kingly," shouted the lion. "No, my claws are," hissed the tiger. "You are both wrong. My great strength is what matters," bellowed the bear. Their argument grew louder and louder, until the entire meadow was filled with their angry shouts and snarls. The other animals watched with wide eyes, feeling more worried than ever. A kingdom ruled by shouting and fighting did not sound like a happy place at all. It seemed that being the strongest only led to more problems. As the mighty animals argued, a slow and steady creature made his way through the crowd. It was the tortoise. He was old, and his shell was worn smooth from many long years of walking through the forest. He did not roar or show his claws. He simply watched and listened with kind, knowing eyes. The tortoise had seen many seasons come and go. He had seen summer turn to fall and winter turn to spring, over and over again. He knew that the loudest voice was not always the wisest, and that true strength was often quiet and patient. The tortoise saw that the squirrels were chattering angrily at each other over a pile of nuts. "These are my nuts," one squeaked. "No, I found them first," another chattered back. The tortoise walked over to them slowly. "My friends," he said in his calm, gentle voice, "the forest has enough nuts for everyone. If you share this pile today, tomorrow, you can help each other find 2 more piles. Working together will give you more nuts than fighting over one." The squirrels stopped their chattering, thought about his words, and began to share the nuts peacefully. Next, he saw the otters, who were sad because their favorite slide into the river had been blocked by a fallen log. They pushed and shoved, but the log would not move. The tortoise came to the riverbank. "Pushing all at once will not work," he advised softly. "Look at the log. It is like a seesaw. If some of you push down on one end, the other end will lift up. Then others can clear the mud from underneath." The otters followed his instructions, and soon the log rolled away. They cheered and slid happily into the water, thanking the wise tortoise. The tortoise did not stop there. He helped the young birds who could not agree on how to build a nest, showing them how to weave twigs together to make it strong. He showed the badgers how to dig a new tunnel so that 2 families could have their own space without getting in each other's way. He never shouted or demanded. He simply looked at a problem, thought for a long while, and then offered a simple, clever solution that worked for everyone. He listened carefully to every animal's trouble, no matter how big or small it seemed. Word of the tortoise's good deeds spread throughout the animal kingdom like ripples in a pond. The animals saw how he had brought peace to the squirrels and joy to the otters. They heard how he had helped the birds build a sturdy home and the badgers find more room to live. They began to whisper to one another. "The lion's roar is loud, but it does not solve our problems," said a rabbit. "The tiger's claws are sharp, but they cannot build a nest," chirped a sparrow. "The bear is strong, but his strength cannot clear a blocked riverslide for everyone." The animals started to understand something very important. A king did not need the loudest roar or the sharpest claws. A king did not need to be the biggest or the strongest. A true king needed to be wise. They needed a leader who could listen to everyone and help them find answers to their problems. They needed someone who could bring them together, not tear them apart with arguments. They all looked at the tortoise, who was resting peacefully in the shade of a large mushroom, and they knew they had found their leader. One by one, the animals went to the tortoise. The lion, the tiger, and the bear were quiet now, and they followed the others with their heads bowed, feeling a little bit ashamed of their loud boasting. A little monkey climbed a tree and wove a crown from the greenest, shiniest leaves. A deer gently placed the leafy crown upon the tortoise's smooth old shell. "We choose you as our king!" They all cheered. "Your wisdom is greater than any strength. You listen to us all. You will be the best king we have ever had." And so, the tortoise became the king of the animal kingdom. He did not rule from a high throne or with a loud command. He ruled with kindness, patience, and a clever mind. He taught everyone that listening is more important than shouting, and that helping each other is the greatest strength of all. The animal kingdom became a happy and peaceful place, all because they chose the wisest among them to be their leader. And they all lived together in harmony, under the gentle rule of the wise Tortoise King.